morning, everyone. This is Sydney here at Pinelands Nursery, here to talk about one of our really popular items this year, which was our hybrid tea roses. This is the first year in a really long time that we've been able to offer them, and we hope to carry them every year around April and May. Not only do we like to sell plants here at the nursery, but we want to take the time to talk to you about how to properly care for them and make them a really good statement for your yard. So as I was saying, they were really popular this year, and we do have a short season that we get to offer them due to their growing requirements with our growers and suppliers. So right here in front of me is what I have left. We have a few whites, few purples, and that sort of thing. So I do want to talk about now all of the customers who have had the opportunity to purchase these hybrid roses, how to properly care for them, and how they work in our environment. So for the first thing, roses do really well here. We have a really well-draining sandy soil, which is good for water flow and that sort of thing. And our pH is really good for them. They get a lot of light, but there are some hindrances being here on the Gulf Coast I do want to talk to y'all about today. So in general, when you're planting a rose, like any plant, you want to go a little bit wider, a little bit deeper, and pack in some new barky, well-draining mix. What that does, we have very sandy soil here. They do need a little bit of bark and nutrients in the soil so that they can retain water and nutrients. Because if they're in straight sand, all of that just leaches out and you're constantly having to add amendments to it. As far as the flowering aspect of roses, they'll bloom their little hearts out during the late spring, early summer time. But to promote more blooms and keep them blooming throughout the season, you do want to deadhead them. And what that entails, and we've done that for most of these already, as you can see, when they're done blooming, but you can come here and promote some new growth by coming just under the blossom when they're done, down to the next node, and just deadhead them. That'll allow them to flush out some new growth and promote some new flowers. Roses also need a lot of fertilizer. And there's multiple ways you can go about that. We do carry two different varieties here at the nursery of the Fertilizing product, which I do stand behind. It's a really good fertilizer. It doesn't have salts in it like Miracle-Gro and some of your other products. But that leads me into my next point, which is we do get a lot of rain. We're fixing to go into our rainy season here on the Gulf Coast. And with that brings a lot of fungal issues and pathogens, unfortunately, that you do have to watch out for. And one way you can treat that is like a 2-in-1 product is this systemic feed and fungicide insecticide. And what this will do is it will keep the bugs, the aphids, the things that eat the blooms under control with that, as well as feed the flowers to promote new growth. But speaking on the fungal pathogens and that sort of thing, roses will get a bacterial and fungal leaf spot during our rainy season. And when you, luckily I don't have any here to show you, but what that'll do is the leaves will get little yellow and red spots all over them. And the best way to treat that is with some sort of fungicide. Systemic is best if you can find it, but we do also carry two other organic products, if you will. Copper fungicide tends to work the best. It is a contact spray. It doesn't stay in the system, but you can spray this about once a week. Or every 2 weeks is what we do here at the nursery, and that'll prevent the fungal leaf spot from taking over your plants. The other option is a Bacillus BT fungal. It's actually a beneficial fungi and bacteria that will fight off the pathogenic funguses, excuse me. Another issue we tend to see here and with customers is worms, like little web worms or things getting in the blossoms and eating that, and good old 7 Dust. You have to apply it every time it rains, but it'll work for the worms. So I do want to talk about the differences between the roses. So right now, the benefit of the hybrid roses, they're more unique, they're larger growing, they have a little bit better color, and not only that, they smell amazing. I mean, every variety has a different smell to it. For instance, we had the Julia Childs, they smelled almost like butter. But not only that, you get a different type of flower. So as you can see, like your hybrid roses are going to be more of your traditional cut flower roses. They're going to have the larger petals, the more floribunda type, if you will. Because in the past, what we mostly carried was your knockouts and your drifts. They're great plants. They are hardy. They do really well. but they don't have the smell. The flowers are not as big, and they stay smaller in general. For instance, your knockouts are more of your bush type. They get about 3 to 5 foot, depending on the variety. And then we also have the drift roses, which have tiny little flowers, and they're more of your ground cover rose. They get about 2.5 to 3 foot tall, and are more of your spreading type rose. A good thing about roses here in the Gulf Coast is they do need adequate water. You want to keep the soil evenly moist, but not to the point of saturation. But once they're established, they're also very drought tolerant. So when we get into June, July, and August, when it's the dog days of summer, they can take the heat. And that's a really good thing about roses, to bring in a nice color pop to your landscape. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about today is how to properly prune them to promote a well-rounded bushy rose bush, because over time, if you don't trim them at least yearly or bi-yearly, they will get kind of leggy and open and all of that, and just don't look their best. So roses do go dormant in the winter. Once they're done, they won't bloom. They do lose some of their leaves, but some are evergreen. So what you can do is a hard prune in the winter, and that'll promote them during dormancy to focus all their nutrients on their roots, get really established and ready for the spring to flush out into a nice well-rounded shrub. So we did have to trim one pretty significantly the other day just because he was getting a little leggy. So with rose bushes, you're going to have your primary stem, the original growing point of the rose, if you will. It's your larger branches and that sort of thing. So you can go in and you can trim out the growth like we did here, especially if any twigs die off and that sort of thing. You want to cut out any dead growth that's in there. You always want to cut at an angle to promote the drainage of the water so it's not sitting and causing rot issues. And then, for instance, anywhere you cut is going to promote new branches for the next year. And so, like for instance, on this one right here, it was trimmed down here and it has promoted 2 new branches to come off. So in the winter, give them a hard prune, and then when we get into the spring, end of March, early March, depends on when we warm up, honestly, that's when you can do your first set of fertilizer for the year. Alright everybody, thank you for watching today, and we appreciate all of the business supporting us, supporting small businesses. It's very well appreciated. As we were talking about the roses, it's something we're going to try and offer every year in April and May. And tomorrow we're going to have a video about our tropicals that are going on sale, so we hope you tune in for that, and thank you and have a great day.